Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got tons of huge news to share with you today. So, last night was a very explosive night inside of Russia. Ukraine launching a massive missile and drone attack in two regions of Russia. So, the Bryansk region up near the Kursk region, just north of Ukraine, coming under heavy missile and drone attack. Also, the Rostov region, primarily the city of Taganrog, which Taganrog is a port city just on the southern side of the Rostov region, close to the Black Sea. Okay, both of these regions coming under heavy attacks last night. We have so much to report here, guys. There's so much information coming out. I can't even keep up with this anymore in terms of these attacks last night. But I tried to gather as much information as I could for you guys to give you a broad overall spectrum and picture of what happened here last night. So I have here on the screen for you, Ukraine launches a massive missile attack on multiple regions in Russia. Ukraine reportedly strikes industrial targets in Russia's Rostov and Bryansk Oblasts, Transneft oil refinery in Bryansk, Russian aircraft plant in Taganrog, Rostov region, and airfield near Taganrog. Okay, so two major regions coming under attack again, Rostov and Bryansk. I've got lots of video footage to show you guys, and it looks to me like there was so much different types of missiles being used last night, at least what's being reported. Now, we don't have official confirmation of everything being used aside from maybe ATACMS, as you can see right here in the photo. Looks like one of the locals down in the Taganrog region, or the city of Taganrog, excuse me, were able to locate one of these ATACMS missiles that landed in the street, or at least the casing of it here. So for sure, we know that ATACMS did strike in the city of Taganrog down in the Rostov Oblast. But in terms of the Bryansk region, I'm hearing that multiple types of missiles could have been used. We could have been seeing Palinitsia being used, the rocket drone, also the new Peklo missile or rocket drone as well that we just talked about recently is reportedly to have been used also in the Bryansk region, maybe even down in Taganrog. We don't even know. It looks like Ukraine was using all kinds of weaponry last night to strike inside of Russia, including drones, okay? So major attacks to report. I've got lots of video footage coming out from Russia today. Let's go ahead and get right into this, guys. We're going to hop on over here to a mainstream news report real quick, because this report has lots of good information in terms of other attacks that I wasn't even able to list there on the waiting screen for you guys when you came in here. So this is from the Kiev Independent, just coming out today, December 11th, 2024. Updated, Ukraine reportedly strikes industrial targets in Russia's Rostov and Bryansk Oblasts. Okay, so here's a picture of the Transneft oil refinery that was hit up in the Bryansk region. I will show you guys lots of pictures and video coming out from there. There's just so many hits to be reporting just today. All right, so it says here a Ukrainian missile struck a boiler plant in Russia's Rostov Oblast overnight on December 11th, damaging critical infrastructure in the city of Taganrog, local Russian officials claimed. Okay, so we even have a boiler plant that was attacked in the Rostov region in the same city of Taganrog also. And it says here separately, Ukrainian forces struck a Druzhba oil loading pipeline near the city of Bryansk, setting it on fire, the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces reported. Now, I don't know if maybe the Druzhba oil loading pipeline has anything to do with that oil refinery, the Transneft oil refinery that was hit up in Bryansk. But big possibility it does have something to do with it. Obviously, it says oil loadings here, so maybe it had, maybe this was located somewhere near that Transneft oil refinery that was hit. If not, we have another strike to report there as well. Okay, also from Yuri Slyuzar, the acting governor of Rostov Oblast, claimed that an overnight Ukrainian missile attack struck an industrial facility in Taganrog, damaging the facility as well as 14 cars in the parking lot. Now, what I think they're talking about here is the aircraft plant that was struck down in Taganrog. As far as I know, that was hit. We even have another report to go over here in just a little bit that an airfield came under attack as well. And where one of their aviation regiments were staying at the airfield, some sort of barracks or something came under attack as well. And I have a report to show you guys in just a little bit that Moscow's coming out and claiming that ATACMS were used to strike that airfield, and they are going to respond with appropriate measures, is what the Kremlin is saying. Okay, so we're probably going to see major escalation coming from Russia very soon. Again, so much information, so bear with me. Taganrog Mayor Svetlana Kombulova later reported that heating supply had been disrupted in 27 apartment buildings in the city following an attack on a boiler plant within the city. Videos posted on social media capture a series of loud explosions in Taganrog around 3:30 a.m. local time. Taganrog lies on the Azov Sea coast, roughly 160 kilometers or 100 miles from the front line. A production facility also caught on fire in the city of Bryansk after Russian air defenses downed 14 drones over the region. Russian authorities claim Governor Alexander Bogomaz later said that the fire had been extinguished. Okay, so even another production facility, we don't know exactly what this is up in Bryansk. Again, guys, so many different attacks happening everywhere. We don't even have all the details yet, but I'm sure they'll slowly start coming out on X. But I gathered as much information as I could for you guys once we move on from this article here. So also, the NP Bryansk loading station of the Druzhba oil pipeline was targeted in a joint operation by the unmanned system forces and military intelligence, resulting in a massive fire, the Ukrainian military said. The pipeline is used to receive, store, and distribute diesel fuel for tankers and cargo trains, and is actively used to supply Russian occupation forces, according to the general staff. Bryansk lies around 100 kilometers or 60 miles north of the Ukrainian border in Sumy Oblast. So my best guess, the reason why they struck this is to cut off the supplies for diesel and fuel for transporting trains, cargo trains, and also vehicles, as we know that right next door to the Bryansk region is the Kursk region, okay? And right now Ukraine is fighting against the Russians over there as Russia's trying to repel them out of the Kursk region. And most likely that's why they're trying to cut off the supply of fuel for Russian troops as they enter into that area trying to push Ukraine out of Kursk. Okay, also the Kiev Independent cannot independently verify any of the Russian claims. Ukraine's military has not yet commented on the alleged attack. The full extent of the damage was not immediately clear, although Slyuzar claimed that there were no casualties as a result of the alleged attack. No additional details were provided by Russian officials. So I'll cite this down below if you guys want to read some more of this information, just a couple more paragraphs here. If you guys want to check that out, it'll be down in the description of this video. So now we're going to jump on over to X, and I have a ton of videos to show you guys today. There's just so much coming out from these attacks. So let's hop on over here to Anton Gerashenko. The moment of the explosion at an oil refinery in Bryansk, Russia, appeared on Russian Telegram channels. We got a 14-second clip showing you guys this oil refinery going up in flames after it was hit. Take a look at this.
Ой! Ебать! Воу! Ёбаный в рот! Да ну нахуй!
Okay, what you're seeing here is the initial hit on this oil refinery as it went up into massive flames. We can see here, and the gentleman that was recording this was absolutely frightened seeing this humongous flame going up into the sky. So major hit on this Transneft oil refinery in the Bryansk region of Russia. We got more video and picture coming out here also from Tendar. It is a big fire/explosion in the Transneft refinery in Bryansk, Russia. So here's some more video footage while it was continuing to burn, probably several hours later. Take a look at this. All right, so expect to be seeing much more of this now that we know that Ukraine has these new Peklo missile drones. Also, the Palanitsia is already ready to go. We also had a report coming out yesterday. I don't think I have it pulled up for you guys, but apparently Ukraine is also working on a new missile. I think it's called the Ruda missile. I think it might have something similar or something to do with the Neptune. Yeah, they're working on that apparently too. So, you know, Ukraine is going to be having all kinds of new weaponry here very soon, and many of them they're already starting to use, and we're starting to see a lot of those reports today. We'll go over that in just a minute. Here's a picture also from Bryansk, from Azov South. Bryansk right now, oil depot, Transneft. Okay, we can see here in the distance, this thing's still burning through the night. Major hit on another oil refinery inside Russia. This one's definitely going to hurt, all at a time where Russia's economy is already stumbling right now, okay? Also from Max 24, Bryansk oil depot, Bavovna. Okay, Bavovna means like explosion, is kind of what they use this word for. So as we can see in this picture in the distance over here, this thing's still on fire. late into the morning. You can see it's getting a little bit brighter now too, and it's still burning into the early morning, okay? So again, major hit on this oil depot or oil refinery to report to you guys. Okay, now take a look at this, okay? So from Igor Sushko breaking, Ukraine used the new Peklo cruise missile drones to strike Russia for the first time. 6 missiles successfully struck the oil depot out of 10 launch, which have a reported range of 700 kilometers and 700 kilometers per hour cruising speed. Okay, so if you can see, he tagged this Transneft oil refinery that we can see here in this picture, showing it ablaze. All right, so what he's talking about, he's referring to this Peklo cruise missile drone, okay, to this Transneft oil depot, connecting it to these two. Okay, so apparently the Peklo cruise missile drones, or these missile drones that they just produced recently. I literally just talked about this like 2 days ago, and already Ukraine is starting to use these, according to Igor Sushko. Now, we'll wait for some more reports to come out, but lots of people on X are claiming that many of these new rocket drones like the Palinitsia and the Peklo are starting to be used now. And if you notice here, just in this video alone, there's so many of them on display, okay? There's probably like 20 of them here or more. So this tells me that Ukraine has a lot of these produced. That's probably what this video is indicating. Ukraine could have 50, 100 or more of these already ready to go, which is why they're starting to use them. Okay, now moving on to another update from Ukraine front line. They say Ukrainian-made long-range drone missile Palinitsia hit Taganrog today, Russia today. If so, our warmest greetings with such a successful launch. Keep going, Ukraine. Okay, so here's a picture of one of the Palinitsia drones. Now, Ukraine unveiled this several months back, okay? We've kind of heard sometimes Volodymyr Zelenskyy would come out and say it was used in some missions inside of the eastern side of Ukraine. Some of the occupied territories by Russia have been struck with this thing, but we haven't heard of too many strikes inside of Russia. Now, very possible this could have hit either the Bryansk region or the Rostov region last night, as we were hearing lots of missile types of weapons being used, okay? So very big news coming out from there. Moving on to another update from NOAA reports. Russian sources suggest the Buryev Aviation Scientific Technical Complex in Taganrog may have been hit overnight. At least a dozen explosions were reported, okay? So I believe this is the aircraft production site that was hit, or aircraft warehouse, the Buryev Aviation Scientific Technical Complex. Okay, so down in Taganrog, now we're going to be talking about the Rostov region that was attacked. Okay, so drones and missiles were also striking down in this area. We've got 2 videos to show you guys. This one's going to show major fires. This one, you're going to be hearing lots of explosions, which are probably ATACMS missiles, maybe Palinitsia or Peklo, some sort of incoming missiles. You're going to be hearing explosions in that one. So take a look at this first one.
Ебать, охуеть, тут прилетело. Пиздец, на забор лез в дырку в гараже. Охуеть.
All right, so it looks like we have a direct impact on this aircraft plant, according to this video here. Looks like we have lots of fire and explosions. You can hear a car alarm going off there in the background. So we've got another video coming up next. Take a look at this one. Okay, so this one you can hear multiple explosions going off in the background. Not sure if these are drones or missiles coming in. Kind of sounds like it could be missiles, but major explosions just in the distance from where this person is recording near their house at this intersection. Okay, so very crazy news coming out from there as well. Okay, here's another picture from Special Kherson Cat. Indeed, Russian aircraft plant in Taganrog, Rostov region of Russia, was targeted by ATACMS tonight. Okay, so here's a picture that we had for you guys on the waiting screen. I'll pull it up full screen for you so you can see a little bit larger, showing this ATACMS ballistic missile laying here in the middle of the street that was clearly used to strike the Rostov region of Russia. Okay, so probably this aircraft plant came under attack with this. We also have a report of an airfield being attacked down here as well. All right, moving on to another update from Special Kherson Cat. In addition to the ATACMS strike on the aircraft repair plant in Taganrog, a strike was carried out on the Russian military base where the 5th Aviation Group of the 6,955th Air Base is stationed. Okay, they also put the coordinates here if you guys want to go take a look at those coordinates on a map. But we've got a video that shows a direct hit on a barracks or some sort of building on where maybe some of these aviation regiment soldiers were staying at the air base. So take a look at this.
Разъебало все нахуй. Братцы, что-то неизвестно. Это пизда. А.
All right, as we can see in this video, massive damage to this facility where these men were staying at. And down here also, as far as I know, ATACMS missiles were used to directly strike this airfield, which is probably where these men were staying at. And again, this is where Moscow's coming out saying that they're going to be responding to this attack, okay? Here's a report right here from the Moscow Times update. The Russian Defense Ministry has accused Ukraine of using American-made ATACMS missiles in an attack on a military airfield in the southern city of Taganrog, and vowed to respond with appropriate measures. Okay, so we are going to see another attack coming from Russia very soon. Now, two things that I can think of right now. Most likely what we will see coming very soon is another major missile attack coming from Russia. The reason why I say that is because every single day, what we have been reporting recently over the last maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks is just small amounts of drones going into Ukraine, and that's about it. We haven't really seen too many missile attacks, maybe a few missiles being fired here and there, but nothing too extreme. I think we're going to see another major missile attack soon, as Russia's had a little bit of time to gather up their stocks, and they may launch another, 100 missiles or 200 missiles at a time, is what I think we could potentially see. If not, maybe the Oreshnik is going to be used again to fire inside of Ukraine. And maybe even this time they might use actual warheads on this thing. And I'll show you guys a report coming out very soon that's warning about that. Okay, also we have this report from Max 24, destroyed Russian ammunition storage in the Kursk region. Okay, so even up in the Kursk region, it looks like the Ukrainians were able to destroy a small ammunition dump, which looks like it was placed inside of a residential home. Take a look at this, 26 seconds long.
Красиво горит. Ломается, блядь. Выкашивает.
All right, looks like small arms were probably being detonated inside of this building. Probably took a direct hit maybe from a HIMARS missile or a drone striking this house. And it kind of sounds like popcorn going off in there. It looks like the Ukrainians were potentially filming this, or I'm not sure if this is a Russian soldier maybe nearby after they caught the explosion on this house. But yeah, it definitely sounds like popcorn is being popped inside of that building. Okay, moving on to another update from Max 24. Here we go again. $1 equals 108.24 rubles. Okay, so what we're seeing with the Russian ruble again is continuing to collapse. It was stabilizing over the last week or so, but it looks like it's starting to collapse once again. I think it was down as low as 100, 102 in this area down here. Looks like it went up to 103 just in the last day, and then as of today, it's spiking back up to 108. Okay, so 108 rubles per dollar. And I think it got up to 113 or 114, something like that, just about a week or two ago. And then Russia took some measures, even with their central bank, to try to combat this. They were able to stabilize it temporarily, but now it looks like the ruble is starting to collapse again and devalue. And we've got some reports here talking about sanctions, which is going to put even more pressure on the ruble, and we're probably going to see it continue to collapse very soon. All right, so also from Max 24, after prolonged fighting in the Pokrovsk direction, 2 defense forces positions were destroyed and 1 was lost, spokesman for Kortitsia Group. Okay, so this is not good news for Ukraine. Looks like the Russians are continuing to press forward towards the city of Pokrovsk, which is right here. This is a very major city for Ukraine on the Eastern Front in the Donetsk region. If they end up losing Pokrovsk, the Donetsk region could potentially collapse or collapse much faster. And as you can see, just to the south over here, the Russians are continuing to press forward and almost begin to encircle or almost cut off this main road here leading to Pokrovsk right there. Okay, so very bad situation for Ukraine. We've been seeing that over the last few weeks, but the Russians are continuing to get closer to that key city in the Donetsk region. Also from Bliskovka, on December 5th, 2 mainline diesel locomotives that met the logistical needs of the Russian occupation army burned down in Bryansk, Russia, the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine reports. The process of mysterious destruction or disabling of objects used by the aggressor state in the genocidal war against Ukraine does not stop, the Ukrainian intelligence service notes. Okay, so it states here 2 mainline diesel locomotives that met logistical needs of the Russian occupation army burned down. Okay, so looks like more attacks potentially on Russia's locomotives and their cargo trains. Okay, we've been seeing so much of this. We know that a good 80 to 90% of what's been reported inside of Russia in terms of their cargo trains, they're being destroyed. Okay, many of them are being derailed. A lot of their tracks are breaking down and being damaged. Many of these are even catching on fire. They're just having lots of problems with their cargo trains in Russia right now. Looks like even more issues being reported as of December 5th, okay? Moving on to another update from War Translator Dmitry. Despite sanctions, Russia continues to receive sniper rifles and ammunition from the EU and the US, according to an investigation by The Insider. The publication reports that thousands of rifles and ammunition from the West continue to flow into Russia through Armenia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. All right, so according to this information, looks like the Russians are still able to receive weaponry from the EU and the US, and they're able to get around sanctions. And we're going to be showing you some stuff about sanctions here right now that looks like the West is really trying to cut off Russia from even selling their oil and evade sanctions. So Russia's going to be really pushed into a corner here very soon. So take a look at this from Nexta. EU ambassadors approve 15th sanctions package against Russia. The new package expands existing sanctions and targets efforts to circumvent them. The package includes individual sanctions and restrictions on vessels from third countries acting in Russia's interests. Additionally, the European Commission will allocate 170 million euros to enhance border security between the EU and Belarus and Russia. Countries bordering Russia and Belarus will be permitted in certain cases to limit the right to asylum to combat illegal migration artificially orchestrated by the regimes of Putin and Lukashenko. Okay, so very big news here also. New sanctions packages coming from the EU very soon, okay? So sanctions are heavily being pressed on Russia right now. Lots of pressure on Russia at the moment. Sanctions, their oil depots are being destroyed, okay? Their collapse of the ruble is just completely falling apart. I mean, how is Russia not, stating here, let's go ahead and just get out of this war already? I mean, are they really just going to keep pressing until they completely have a collapse in their nation? I don't know what's going on over here, but definitely Russia is not in a good position right now. And at the same time, it could be very dangerous. And we could see a major response from Russia, maybe an insane response. Who knows what's going to happen here? If you ever force a cat into a corner, the cat will eventually bite and defend itself. So hopefully that won't be the case. And maybe we will see this war come to an end abruptly very soon. And we'll see what happens here. But major sanctions also from the EU. Okay, take a look at this too from Max24. The Biden administration is weighing new, harsher sanctions against Russia's lucrative oil trade, seeking to tighten the squeeze on the Kremlin's war machine just weeks before Donald Trump returns to the White House, according to Bloomberg. Okay, here's that report, and it reads, U.S. considers new Russia oil sanctions to weaken Putin ahead of Trump. Restrictions would also target Russia's shadow tanker fleet. Biden looks for ways to sap Kremlin's war machine in Ukraine. All right, so let's see what these sanctions are going to do. But, more and more sanctions being pressed onto Vladimir Putin and Russia. So their oil industry being attacked, their banks are being attacked in terms of sanctions. I mean, again, their ruble is collapsing right now. This is going to put a very tight squeeze onto Russia very soon. All right, also from Max24, the Biden administration transferred $20 billion to Ukraine in a form of a loan that will be repaid using interest earned from Russia's frozen assets, according to the New York Times. This was actually reported yesterday. Trump could try to unravel the loan by reversing the sanctions that keep Russia's central bank assets frozen. However, Republicans would probably oppose such a move, and it would not affect Europe's portion of the loan. All right, so we heard recently that this 20 billion going over to Ukraine that would be repaid through frozen Russian assets. There'd be a portion of it that the EU would fund, and then a portion of it that the US would fund. And then we're hearing that Donald Trump may withdraw the US's portion of it. The EU's come out recently and said they're trying to create a contingency plan. They would like to know if Trump is going to pull out of this or not, so they can start making plans to pay for it on their own. As it's a huge amount of money, guys. 20 billion to Ukraine is a lot of money. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be repaid through Russia's frozen assets once again. So at the same time, heavy sanctions being placed onto Russia right now. Ukraine's got these crazy weapons, all kinds of missiles being used now. Even U.S.-made ATACMS still going into Russia after about a week or week and a half long pause, almost 2 weeks now, I think. And then at the same time, yeah, sanctions on Russia, their dollars or their ruble, is falling apart. I mean, heavy pressure being put on Russia at the moment, and this could all be done for a reason to put Ukraine into a strong position as they head to the negotiating table. Okay, also from the Kyiv Independent, we have a new diagram coming out over the last 24 hours showing Russian losses from the Ukrainian side. It says here as of December 11th, so that's just today, 1,400 troops that Russia supposedly lost over the last 24 hours, 20 AFVs, 36 vehicles and fuel tanks, 2 tanks, 3 artillery systems, 4 UAVs. If you notice, the UAV numbers have been much lower recently. I've seen anywhere from like 15 and under, this time only 4, okay, and 4 special equipment. So not too many losses again that we're seeing from the Russian side, so it makes me wonder if the Russians are starting to slow down their offensive and this war is maybe going to slowly start grinding to a halt very soon. But at the same time, we had that report coming from the Donetsk region near Pokrovsk that the Russians are pressing forward. So maybe some areas are more highly active than others is what I'm thinking is what's going on here. Okay, also from Nexta, Zelensky's refusal to lower the mobilization age, has seriously strained his relationship with Biden, reports The Telegraph. The publication notes that over nearly 3 years of war, there have been many disagreements between the two leaders, but the dispute that began last week may be the final one. When a State Department representative stated that the U.S. was ready to arm and train new brigades, this was too much for Volodymyr Zelensky. The Ukrainian president felt compelled to respond publicly, delivering a parting blow aimed directly at Joe Biden, who remains the world's most influential leader for another 42 days. Okay, so it makes me wonder if maybe this is going to ruin Ukraine's chances of getting a NATO invitation before Joe Biden gets out of office. I mean, I think it's already very difficult for them to get in anyways. There's a lot of countries, I think like Slovakia, Hungary, that may try to block Ukraine from getting in. Yeah, so apparently there's a feud going on between Joe Biden and Volodymyr Zelensky right now, as the U.S. has been calling for Zelensky to lower the draft mobilization age down to 18 from 25. And Zelensky still appears to oppose it, and he's claiming that, hey, we need more weapons. Give us more missiles. Don't force us to lower our mobilization age. Just give us more weapons so we can strike into Russia and force Russia to end this war. Is kind of how Zelensky's been claiming this, okay? All right, a couple more things to show you guys before we get you out of here from the Ukrainian Review. Russian leaders expect Trump to issue ultimatums to both Kyiv and Moscow. If Zelensky refuses the peace terms, the U.S. will stop all military aid. If Putin drags out time, the U.S. will start bombing the Russian economy, according to The Telegraph. For Putin, one more change in the Middle East is enough to bring things to a critical point. If the Saudis again decide to flood the world with cheap oil to regain their market share, then oil will fall below $40 and Russia will get out of economic control. Then the war in Ukraine may end in Riyadh and not on Russia's terms. Okay, so very big news coming out today, and we're hearing more reports of what Donald Trump may do to try to end this war. So it looks like he may put pressure on Zelensky to try to end this war. And if Zelensky does not refuse to these peace terms, whenever an ultimatum is given from Donald Trump to Zelensky, they may stop aid to Ukraine. And also in terms of Russia, if Russia decides to drag out the negotiations and not end the war, then they will start bombing the Russian economy. And a big part of this is Saudi Arabia for over a year now, I think maybe even 2 years or longer, they've been cutting their oil production, okay? And if all of a sudden they start flooding the oil back into the market, oil prices will come down. I think last I checked last night, I think it was around $69 a barrel. And if oil ends up falling back down to lower levels, even down to $40 it claims here, Russia's not going to be able to fund this war. Okay, they won't be able to fund their war and all their defense industry and everything happening inside their country. They're not going to be able to fund everything if oil is at $40 a barrel. So high price oil is allowing this war to continue on right now. And we already know as well that Donald Trump has come out many times when he gets into office. One of the big things that he's going to focus on inside of the United States is pumping oil. Okay, I think even the Keystone XL pipeline running up to Canada may reopen, is what I'm hearing. Those were just some rumors recently. And also, they're going to be pumping oil like crazy inside the United States, which will, for sure, eventually, over time, start to drive down the price of oil, which also could help out with inflation and lots of things in the world. We'll see how that goes. We don't know the ultimate effects of that yet, but in terms of this war, $40 barrel of oil for Russia is not going to be ideal for them to keep funding this war, is kind of what I'm stating here, okay? So one last thing to show you guys from Max 24. Russia may fire another Oreshnik intermediate range ballistic missile at Ukraine in the coming days, according to Bloomberg. The U.S. doesn't consider the weapon a game changer, the official said. All right, so the reason why I'm showing you this too is think about what's going on right now inside of Russia. We just had ATACMS striking an airfield inside of the Rostov region near Taganrog, as we just reported earlier in this video. And don't be surprised if Russia fires another one of these Oreshniks into Ukraine. Now, this was definitely an ATACMS missile being used, and the U.S. is way out of range from this Oreshnik striking back at the U.S. We already know that Russia's come out before and stated that they would see this as a joint attack on their nation if a nuclear power were to back Ukraine, that the U.S. would now be involved with Ukraine in this attack on this airfield, is kind of how their nuclear doctrine states. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they are coming out saying they will respond with appropriate measures. So we'll see what happens here coming out very soon, but it looks like Russia could potentially fire another Oreshnik medium-range ballistic missile into Ukraine, or hopefully not at a NATO member, but very possible we could see another one of these being fired very soon. So that was a new report coming out today. So tons of information in today's video. I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with me here today. And if you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.